Hi, Pooja. Hi, Pooja. Welcome. Good afternoon.
A very good afternoon to one and all. I, Petalia Coutinho, student of TYBCom, welcome you for the session on Augmenting Business, Vitality and Addressing Market Turbulence, diving into design thinking and innovativeness, organized by eCell in association with Institutions Innovation Council. I request all of you to put off your mic and video till further instruction. Post your questions in the chat box. We will take up the questions after the session. Today, we are extremely delighted to have a very young and dynamic resource person as a speaker for today's session, Ms. Pooja Shirali, who is a co-founder at House of Mira at Bangalore. Pooja ma'am is an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad, who also has an MBA in Brand Management and Communication from MICA. She is the co-founder of House of Mira, a creative startup that is into the DIY, do-it-yourself, and creativity space. They manufacture DIY decor kits and are also the official organizers of Art Battle in India. It is the world's biggest live art tournament that happens in 60 plus countries. I request Ma'am Pooja to take over the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. I'm actually very happy and excited to be here. It's always a great pleasure to talk to people who are in the academic world, and I'm as excited as probably you guys are to be here. And also, thank you for the very glowing introduction of myself. Sorry, I think we're already 10 minutes past the session, but I actually had a presentation. Is it okay if I can share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just share my screen, and then we can probably. Ashwini, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I was actually invited by Ashwini to talk on the topic, augmenting business vitality and, navigating market turbulence through design thinking and innovation. And although the topic feels really heavy, I've tried my best to keep the session light and interactive because I think throughout the day, you're all listening to so many valuable lectures and attending so many sessions that I also hoped that this session could be something which is also more like an activity. So I'm going to start straight away. And, probably we can, if time permits, do a small activity through the chat. So just to kind of reiterate on whatever you introduced me for. So the industry that I come from, my background is in, I have an MBA and my background is in marketing and communications. And in my startup, the industry that we belong to is arts, crafts, and creativity, and a larger subset of home decor. So we are a product company that is, we manufacture decor and art related products. So of course, every industry kind of has different turbulent factors, like factors causing market turbulence. And everything that I'm going to talk about today is through the lens of what really affects us in our industry. If I could, I've just taken the liberty to classify what we see as turbulence in two different ways. So the first one being the macro factors. So what are the macro or the bigger factors that sometimes are not even in our control and something that we cannot even predict? And what are some of these factors that still affect a business like ours? So one is, probably pre-pandemic, disaster for an industry that is into home decor may have never made sense. But pandemic has really forced us to change the way we look at these kind of factors. So for me, pandemic is really something very big in disaster. Another is things like, a natural calamity and things that affect the mood of people also. So we'll probably come to the first one, which is the pandemic. So these factors are not always. So when we talk about turbulence, the way I look at it is there is positive turbulence and there is also negative turbulence. Turbulence, which is why I put this imagery where this tree represents any business, any company, not just us. And you are obviously, you have your foundations, which are the roots, which are, you are strongly based. If we are taking, for example, Zomato, they obviously are a big business and they have their roots which are based on very strong foundations. But beneath this, what really shakes the earth a little bit for the business is what I see as turbulence. What really makes you start looking at things very seriously. So which is why I've put this kind of an imagery. So macro factors, pandemic, and as we are talking, as we're speaking now, happening. So geopolitics also is another key macro factor that largely causes turbulence, and policies that are state specific, country specific, that from time to time keep changing and affect the larger industry. So I'm now going to talk about how some of these have actually impacted our sector or our business. Um, Pandemic. So the pandemic, the way we see it, the pandemic has resulted in life-changing activities or operations for business, and for some businesses it has been very catastrophic, if I may say so, and for some businesses it has actually been very beneficial. And we actually come in the second category. The pandemic has actually helped our sector and business. So you must be wondering, how has it really helped us? So what happened when the pandemic came was the government announced lockdown, and we were all sitting at home, especially in the first lockdown. People were forced to be at home, where not many people had COVID at that time, but we were largely expected to be sitting at home, which meant that all our entertainment options were so restricted. We couldn't go out to a restaurant, movie, or to the mall. We basically had to entertain ourselves at home, and that really helped two three sectors largely. One is the entertainment industry, which is basically content. So many people started taking Netflix subscription, Amazon subscription, and starting to watch content at home. The second was DIY. I think if we all look back at a year back, what we were doing, all of us have been doing DIY at some level, which is what made DIY so big. People were looking at YouTube videos of how to cook at home, how to make cakes, how to make pizza. I'm actually having some noise in this call. I don't know if it's just from me or others also. Like, so a lot of us doing we were at home, we were trying to cook new things. Women would start to do their beauty regimen at home by themselves. Men were getting haircuts at home from their family. Home decor and reshaping your house, your garden, and then even your workstation. Now people were forced to sit at home and work, designed for these kind of things. So a lot of such brands started to see a lot of uptick in sales. And if I take our products, for example, so we sell art and craft kits, which are for adults, which are for kids, which is very age agnostic. And because people were at home, I think the women over here will agree with me to an extent that the pandemic was a very new experience for women, because you have to also cook, you also have to attend to meetings, and you also attend kids or older people at home. Now, how do you really keep them occupied? So we actually saw a lot of increase in sales because our products were being bought by largely two kinds of people: adults because they were stressed, and they wanted something like de-stressing activities, so they wanted to introduce some creativity. And obviously when you have kids at home, it is summer and their schools are all closed, and so they started buying a lot of our products for their kids, to keep the kids active. So, which is why I would say some turbulence, not all turbulence is negative. There is also positive turbulence. Um, so yeah, the pandemic actually was a positive turbulence factor for us. Geopolitics. Now, a lot of things, when we are in manufacturing sector, especially, we manufacture our products. You can't always source your materials from one country or from one region, right? Some things are always you are either getting it from China, from Indonesia, from smaller markets, where some smaller. What do you say, smaller economies, sometimes like Vietnam and Indonesia, which are sometimes specialized in only making material. For example, a lot of material in the textile industry, materials like felt, wool, they actually come from Korea. In India also we make them, but the demand is so much in India, and India also exports a lot of textiles. So a lot of these materials, simple things like buttons that we use on our shirts, zips and all those things, a lot of them actually come from Korea. China, of course, in every sphere we import from them. So when pandemic happened, a lot of things like paint, like the material that we use, paper, etc. It was a big challenge in a way that import was a problem, because for some time there were no cargo flights, uh, uh, and even generally now in this problem of war, because there is some problem in some other part of the world. It has like a trickle down effect on so many other aspects in some random business in some other continent, so geopolitics does cause like a major turbulence in everyday business operations. Policies time and again either affect the business in a good way or the bad way. GST, for example, or demonetization. For GST has definitely impacted our sector also, because there are products that you are necessity for us, and then there are products that are indulgence, and our sector is largely an indulgence oriented product. For example, you can go days and months without having to spend on something to beautify your house, but there could be those products that you needed time to time. So for indulgence products, if for example your product is already at 500 rupees, and with GST now coming in, if your product now has to be priced at 600 rupees, it obviously does feel like a pinch on the pocket for a large segment of our customers, because there is not so much you will want to spend on, indulgence, because your indulgence will also mean food, entertainment, travel. So you are obviously price conscious when it comes to indulgence products or services for that matter. And policies definitely do affect a lot of decisions when it comes to pricing, scaling up of your products, etc. Micro factors which also cause severe turbulence for our business are things like trends. Customer preferences keep changing from time to time. Market preferences keep changing from time to time. And for example, things that we like maybe 5 years back. I'll give a simple example because of the sector that we are in. Maybe it would be relatable for your house. A while back, say 6 years, 8 years back, there was this big trend of buying leather furniture, buying leather couches, sofas, leather chairs, and everything. And at that point, people started to get in more and more and more into leather or fake leather, whichever. But today, if you see, trends have changed so much, because we are seeing this wonderful resurgence of make in India products, and aesthetics and ethnicity really comes into the picture. And our good old Indian furniture, which is like coir based, string based, they are all again so much more in demand in the market. That's when it comes to furniture. Or for example, even if you look at simple things like curtains, old saris, people are now converting them into curtains, and trends keep changing. And as a business, it really affects us. Like, should we cater to the trend? Should we stick to what we are doing? So that's always like a strategy problem. Disruptions is it's a nice thing, and always there are disruptors entering the market. For example, maybe 4 years back, TikTok didn't even exist, in our dictionary. Today every kid in every school in every part of the country, especially in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, they are not just familiar with TikTok, but they are also largely putting out content. Now if I ask you, I mean, in the room, how many of you are active users of Instagram or TikTok in terms of putting content? You are maybe putting videos or whatever. The answer will probably be 10% in the room. But if you go to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, like maybe like Bikaner, maybe like Salem, or the smaller pockets, they're heavily into these apps. Apps like ShareChat, TikTok, then Takatak. There are so many mods, and a lot of e-commerce today happens actually through such entertainment apps. It's not the websites or the stores that are selling today, but it is largely through these apps, and that's actually called video commerce or social commerce. And even if you look at your own buying history, you will see that a lot of products today that you're buying is because you got an ad, or you're on places like Meesho. And disruptors really changed the game in the way we are purchasing our products as customers, and obviously because of that, forcing us as brands in how we are trying to sell to you as a brand. Demographics obviously keeps changing, and India is a very young country compared to other markets. And every time, like for example, we are all largely millennials, and probably boomers also in the room. But if you look at Gen Z and Alpha, then the way they consume are so different. Like if we have younger siblings, or even kids in our house, the way they consume things is so different from the way we do. Sometimes they are way more price conscious than us. And what we've observed in the industry is, as they are getting younger, their choices are more focused on sustainability, plastic free, uh, and they actually don't mind spending a little more if it is a product that really talks to them. We are more value oriented. If we have 200 rupees, we'll see कि क्या क्या खरीद सकते हैं 200 rupees में. But if you give 200 rupees to a 16-year-old, they may just buy two things, but they're very careful to see where does this go after they consume, and where what are the ingredients that are going in. And demographics are causing that kind of turbulence in a way that we have to be so mindful today, and what are the things that we are putting into our product. So in our business, we have really tried to be plastic free in every way possible. So our costs of production drastically go high when such things happen. But if we are not factoring in this change, then we can literally be obsolete in 4 years, 5 years, when newer markets come into the picture. So this is typically, the factors that are contributors to turbulence in our sector, and probably in many other sectors also. And now you must be wondering, okay, if this is what it is, what do we do? How are we addressing these? And we are a small business, and in India, so many small businesses have mushroomed in the last 3-4 years. So the way we look at problems will be so different from an established brand, like the McDonald's, the Zomatos today, addressing the same problems. So there are different levers to tackle turbulence. One, of course, is, and this is in any job. I mean, I think a lot of you are undergrad students here. I mean, you are undergrad students. After you graduate, some of you may get into marketing, some of you may get into sales, some of you may get into, finance. And in every a discipline that you get into, there are design thinking, innovation actually comes into picture in every discipline. You could be in marketing, and you'll be forced to think differently. Or you could be in finance, where you are doing business modeling, and you could again be forced to think differently. So I've broadly classified the levers, like to call it levers, but levers because you could target turbulence. I mean, tackle turbulence in different ways, and It doesn't always have to be one. Sometimes, most of the times, we are deploying at least 4 or 5 levers all the time. Marketing. Let's take pandemic as an example because we've all been through it together, and we still are, of course. Um, a lot of businesses were never even online. They never sold online, and they were mostly stores. You go to the store, you buy, you come back. So marketing, first, when during the pandemic for our sector also, and a lot of products are very touch and feel. You prefer touching, you prefer seeing, especially when you're investing on things for your house or for your kids. We are very careful with what we are purchasing. So marketing is a very important lever in terms of how are you really reaching out to your customer or tackling this turbulence through marketing. And some broad ways of doing it is spend. A lot of big or small companies today, bulk of their budget, sometimes as much as 80% is actually spent on marketing, either either for customer acquisition or retention. If you are using a simple example like Zomato, the amount of marketing push that they're doing to keep you on the app is so heavy, and digital marketing largely becomes a component of it. Every platform that you are in, it's so important for us to reach out to you, talk to you in a very different way. Earlier, what would happen was people used to create one ad, which is run on TV, on radio, on print. But today, platform to platform, we have to make such different content to reach out to you in a way that resonates with you. And then the good old things that we are all taught in marketing classes, like give discounting as an option to your customers, offers, advertising. Now these levers to target it, to tackle a turbulence, they are actually very important. For example, in a pandemic, if you want somebody to buy an indulgence product which they may not even need, how are you? First of all, they are dealing with a pandemic. A lot of people have lost jobs. A lot of houses, they are finding it difficult. But as a business, we still have to survive, right? We still need to talk to this customer. That's why discounting becomes important, or pay now, or buy now, pay later becomes important. There are still ways that you are trying to keep yourself as a business ethically relevant, because it makes it sometimes it may not make a lot of sense to market to a customer when they can't afford it, or that's not important. But as a business, we also have to survive. So then marketing definitely is a smart lever to use. Sales and distribution, a very, very important lever to tackle any kind of turbulence. Channels, today, channels to reach out to your customers are like a plethora. Now, we are also a business that's now planning to launch into other geographies like USA, Mexico. So, because there are Indians sitting there and they are also at home. So, channels become so important. And channels sometimes are also intangible channels, like you have somebody sitting in another geography who really misses home. They are missing home because they are alone, they are away, and reaching out to them without even doing marketing becomes so important. For example, a lot of Indians were stuck wherever they were. They could not go back to their home or parents and everything, and that emotional need of buying certain products was so high. For example, it could have been food, it could have been simple things like pickles, or it could have been things like attire. And we are basically then targeting the emotions. Now, to such customers, they don't even need marketing. You just need to tell them, hey, we are now selling in your region with just an extra amount of shipping, and they were very happy and willing to buy. So customer touch points, we need to keep thinking of how, like how they say in football, your goalpost will keep changing every time you're losing the game. The same way, the customer touch points also keep changing every time there's a turbulence. Sometimes you're able to reach out to them faster, sometimes it's like a train journey. There are so many stations before you reach your destination, and which is why distribution becomes important. Online has largely changed the game for a lot of businesses. Today, we are sitting in Bangalore as a business, but we are selling to a lot of places like Gaya, like Chandigarh. Without, the customer doesn't know us, we don't know them. But that we have established that channel and that link with them. Sales and distributions definitely becomes important as a lever. Price, price our favorite tool in every way. If you're a finance person, you're a marketing person, playing on the price it's important as a lever, and it's very beneficial as a lever. Um, Even for example, we may think for a brand which used to be at 200 rupees, if they made it 220 rupees, it may be like, yeah, okay, that's marginal incremental price change. But for brands that are dealing with volumes, even that incremental 20 rupees will actually translate to so much more. When we are I'm continuing with the same pandemic example. Pandemic sometimes meant dealing with a lot more newer customers or losing a lot more customers. And then let's take the second example, where we are taking an example where many businesses lost customers because of the pandemic, which is largely, a lot of like restaurant business. People will stop going to hotels for hygiene reasons, safety reasons. Now, if I have my loyal base, it could be your favorite pav bhaji stall or whatever. It's so important to use price as a lever to tackle this sudden change or turbulence in your business, because there are loyal customers who still come to you as a brand, who don't mind paying that incremental 20 rupees. They're like, yeah, okay, I understand you're suffering as a business, I'm okay to pay. But that 20 rupees will still help me make the same business as I was when I had those extra 50 customers. So price definitely becomes an important lever in a way that you keep playing around. Then there are obviously economic pricing things that we learn, saying if it's 1349 instead of 1200, up to what point will that customer still keep continuing paying? So we keep doing those price experiments all the time. Last and the most important one is business model. We have also pivoted in startup world. Pivot is a common term. It just means that you were your business model was a certain type, and you made a slight shift to change your business model. For example, earlier, we would do a lot of things face to face. We would do workshops, we would do corporate workshops face to face. And just to give like a number example, with one workshop of say 20, 30 people in a company that we would be invited, we would earn about 1 lakh for 3 hours. And because of the pandemic, companies don't want to invite you, the companies are closed. And how are you then? So then we changed our model, we went online, we started doing brainstorming sessions for companies online. Like today, because of the pandemic, we are doing the session online. Otherwise, it would have been unthinkable for a business or a person sitting in Bangalore to come and address your college students in Goa. It would have monetarily never made sense, and logistically also never made sense. But here we are doing the session, talking from different parts of the country, and online offline model really becomes so important. A lot of businesses today are click and mortar. Like they will still have their physical stores in key markets, but largely will sell to you online. So click and mortar is really the name of the game today. Or you're purely online. Revenue streams, a lot of newer models have emerged today in the economy, and they are very interesting models, such as subscription model. So you'll see a lot of brands today going to subscription model. For example, of course, the entertainment space is the best example, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. But I'm talking about traditional products that today are in subscription. For example, kids toys. Today, a lot of brands do subscription model of kids toys, which are educational, of course, but they'll say that you pay 1,000 or 2,000 every month, and we'll send you like a box of educational toys that you can use, construct, everything. So subscription has become a very today, which are in the online space. Or even, for example, Vita Junior, Byju's, they're all in subscription model. Like home decor, IKEA and all are slowly getting into this model where they'll tell you, hey, how about getting these new toolkits every month? Meal kits have become subscription based, like you pay 5,000 rupees every month and you have like a meal basic meal that is coming to you for all those people who could not have a cook or who were alone. So a lot of subscription models are beginning to emerge. Subscription is one thing. Second is use now, pay later. They first will tell you, why don't you attend the session, or why don't you watch 20 minutes, or why don't you try for like a part of it and then pay what you like. If you liked it, pay for it. So businesses are willing to stretch a little bit. Like I may tell you, hey, why don't you try this trial pack? Like for example, in our business, since we are into the decor and art and craft space, which may not be a space that interests everybody, materials is a problem. What we show on the website versus what they imagine, there's always that gap. They are not able to figure out. Okay, if I tell you thickness of this product is say 200 micrograms, as a customer they will not even understand what is this. So there is that high customer dissatisfaction from what you think to what you get. So trial packs have started to become like a common thing, that if you are willing to pay just like a nominal 200 rupees, I will send you a trial pack of whatever product you want. If you like it, then I'll give you a discount and you can buy the actual product. So trials have started to become very common even in the digital space. A lot of brands do clothing trials. It may have been unheard of in a digital world, because trial room changing is a very store concept. But a lot of brands today, clothing brands, they have a trial concept. They'll give you, and that's also called reverse engineering. So what happens is, with a lot of businesses, if you don't like a product, or it's something that has been sitting in your closet for a very long time, it could be shoes, it could be clothes. New age brands will ask you to send it back at zero cost, and they'll give you like a discount or like a voucher because you did that. So what they'll do is, say you have old pair of shoes that you no longer want to use, they'll ask you to send it back to the brand, and they'll give you an incentive, which is a voucher or discount, whatever. How they do reverse engineering, because reverse engineering it's a very new emerging concept. What they will then do is they will clean it up, they'll run it through their production channels, and they will use these older products to send them as trials for customers. So if you're ordering a shoe and you don't know what size you should fit, what size fits you, if you're a member of the brand, you're a subscriber of the brand, they will send these reverse engineer products to you saying, for free, why don't you try this? If you like it, order what you want. So and that's also a very nice way of being sustainable. Instead of making you throw what you don't want, it's also called circular economy. You may have heard this term, where it is constantly moving around and it is not going into landfills and wastes. So these are very new age models, that are business models that are coming up, that we are also using today to tackle a lot of turbulence. So coming to the next topic, which was, how do you use design thinking to keep your business ops going, or how to stay relevant in the game? Innovation and design thinking is so important, but it also is a question of, do businesses really need it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I'm just throwing an alternative perspective here on, does it even make sense to do it or not make? So I've categorized this whole concept into three different ideas, just to keep it a little light. One is the cheetah approach. Let's just go back to the previous thing to remember the levers again. Design thinking can be through marketing, design thinking can be through sales, through business model, through production. You can deploy a design thinking concept in any way, in any aspect. It's not that creative jobs have more design thinking or strategy jobs have more design thinking. Design thinking can be fit into any discipline that you end up doing in your year or two when you start working, But I'm here talking about the approach. Design thinking has so many different approaches. I have just created this approach, which is called the cheetah approach. What is a cheetah approach? A cheetah approach is, you use those concepts or principles of design thinking where you are trying to be quick and trying to stay relevant for today's market. Okay. Cheetah, what are the characteristics of the cheetah? It's fast, it's agile, it's nimble. which is why we call it the Cheetah approach. Let's take a common example for all the three approaches, and let's take Swiggy or Zomato, okay, food, because everybody is very familiar with it. Let's take Swiggy, okay. Now, Swiggy launched this new disruptive idea saying we will deliver food to you. But Zomato, on the other hand, before Swiggy came in, they were only a discover restaurants app. You know, you open, you discover what are the restaurants in that area or nearby vicinity, and then you go to the restaurant. They are not the restaurant is not coming to you. When Swiggy entered the market, they disrupted the market. They said, why should you go to the restaurant when the restaurant can come to you? Now, what did Zomato do? Zomato became a very cheetah, they did a very cheetah design approach where first they said, we already have this ecosystem. We are already an app where we are showing restaurants. How about we also start delivering food, you know? Now that's called being, but with a difference because Zomato started something called cloud kitchens. They did not need to kind of depend on the restaurant that is near the customer all the time. What is a cloud kitchen? It's basically you are not a restaurant. You just have these big cloud kitchen rooms where you are mass cooking and you are sending the food to the customer. You don't have to be a restaurant which the customer goes or knows. So Zomato started doing mass cloud kitchens. You know, that is the design thinking or the innovation that they brought to the game. So that's, but they were so quick that they are already within a year of Swiggy coming, Zomato was already delivering food to people. So that's Cheetah approach. That you are making things that are quick, that the approach is quick. So, like if you take travel, for example, travel booking. IRCTC is today also doing flight bookings. They're doing IRCTC is largely known for train bookings, right? But today they have entered the game where they are being innovative in terms of what all they are offering to you. So that's called a Cheetah approach, where you are trying to be cater to today's changing times and trying to be relevant. Uh, the next is what I call the elephant approach. Sometimes we will, if we go back here, the last one, which is business model, largely comes in this elephant approach. You are setting principles, you are setting innovative practices that are not necessarily for the current and the next 2 years, but for the longer run. You are trying to be futuristic. Actually, I don't know how many of us may be aware. Big Basket launched actually originally in 99. It's unthinkable, right? In 1999, for somebody to think of online grocery delivery, it never would have made sense. They took 10 years to create that big distribution channel and system where when they launched sometime in 2004 or 5 or probably 8 or 10, they could deliver everything from milk to vegetables to fruits to every corner of India. So that's largely an elephant approach where you have put design thinking and innovation to utmost use, where you're also factoring in future. You know, you are being so futuristic in your concepts. Today, if we have to talk about thinking of systems and design thinking in the products we are working on, even in our sector, which is home decor, arts and craft, virtual or how to digitally give an experience to a customer becomes important. We may be a product today, but helping customers design their home or seeing something in virtual reality or artificial augmented reality, AR, VR, slowly incorporating those things in our products or approaches becomes so critical to us. For example, we are today looking at launching products that are 3D printed, which is how future is going also. That with 3D printing, you can do anything today in the market. They could be, you can you can create a furniture, you can create a table, you can create a bag, you can create a bottle, you can make so many products to 3D printing, where you don't need to have massive machinery capacity, production capacity. You just need one small 3D printing machine, and you're able to create a dynamic range of products. So that's an elephant approach. And design thinking is not just in the figurative design way, but also how are you creating things that are helping the customer, enhancing the experience for the customer, from seeing you to thinking you to converting you to a sale. We will come to that in the activity part of it. Maybe if we have, it's a very simple thing. I think we have about 10 or 15 minutes left, but the last one is the cockroach approach. It may seem, I'm guessing some of you may be laughing, but what is really a cockroach approach? The cockroach approach is basically to do nothing. And sometimes it is also important to do nothing, but to innovatively do it. Your innovation here is to do nothing, but be so to minimize your costs. To give an example, there are phones today which are Samsung, which are iPhone, which are really focusing on R&D, on innovation, etc. To be a cockroach would be to be a Vivo, to be a OnePlus, to be a Redmi. They will not spend a lot of money on their own R&D or innovation to bring cutting edge features. What they will do is make like a khichdi of what Apple has, what Samsung has, but use their production costs, because R&D really takes a big chunk of money when you are in business. Now, if you have eliminated this big chunk, if it's like a pizza, and if you have cut one half of it out, then your costs are so, it mostly is on marketing and reaching the customer and being very quick. The cockroach approach is really to not have your own ideas of innovation, but to have a ear and an eye open for what is happening outside. It could also be in your studies, in your job. There may be people who are doing A very well, and there may be doing B well. As a smart person, the opportunity that you need to see is, if I marry A and B together, what is this unique new thing that I can deliver to the market? And phones become so important. I mean, it's an easy example, because if you technically look at your Vivo, your Lava, your Redmi phones, they are not features that are not new. They were copied from an Apple, or but they'll cater. But how are they able to bring it at 4,000 or 5,000 rupees? An Apple phone costs 75, 80,000. But that's largely being a cockroach. What do cockroaches do? If there is a food particle in your kitchen, you will see 20, 30 cockroaches coming to it. That's what they do. Those businesses. There will not be very major difference between a Vivo phone to an Oppo phone to a Lava phone or whatever. Everybody is pretty much telling you the same thing, but they are just being smart, and they are being very, what do you say, nimble about it. So these are largely the three broad approaches to design thinking, where sometimes you are trying to innovate for the present, for the relevancy of the present. Sometimes you are trying to innovate or set up processes and principles that are for the next 10 years, like sturdy and steady, like how an elephant walks. And sometimes you are happy being a cockroach, because you are not going to waste that time on innovation, but you will copy and re-innovate what somebody is doing. So this is pretty much in terms of generically what design thinking or innovation approaches that could be deployed even in our sector. Now I will talk about, I'm going to kind of stop sharing the screen for a little bit so that you can also see me. In our sector, an example of design thinking that we did or that we constantly do is, one product that we launched is, it's called miniature painting kit. Now a lot of people do not like painting because they feel they're bad at it. It's messy, and you could be, you could make errors, and it will look bad. Like the end product will look bad. That's a fear we have. It may not always look bad, but the fear that it may look bad. So now these are the problems. You have identified problems, and we are like, okay, what can we do about these problems? Now, this is where design thinking or innovation comes into picture, is where we said, okay, if this is a problem, I'm now going to share my screen to kind of show you what did we do about it. It's a very simple problem, Let me just, if I may just share a product. Okay, so this is our brand, and I'm just wanting to show an example of what we did. Okay, so these are called miniature painting kits. So what we do is we reduced the size. The smaller the size is, time is lesser. You are able to spend 30 to 40 minutes on creativity. Because if I told you you are going to make a large painting, you are like, okay, when do I see myself spending that time? Where can I, put it? And I have no space in my house. So we said, let's go small. This is something you can carry when you're traveling. This is something you can keep at your work desk, your house. It's something that's mobile. So for the problem of time, we said, let's create a product that solves the problem of time in a way that we reduce the size of the product. This is very small. It's like as big as your palm. Secondly, a lot of us, we start creative when we are young, when we are kids. All of us do drawing, but as we grow older, somewhere we feel, oh, I'm not creative, I'm not artistic. Oh, it looks so bad. So, which is why we said, what if we pre-printed the design for our customer? Um, what kind of a problem is that solving? So by pre-printing the design on the canvas, or we also have fabric, we pre-print it for you. First is you are eliminating that time that is you have to spend on doing your outline or whatever. Secondly, it's very error free. You will color within that outline. That your overall output will not look very different from what you had in mind. Consistency from box to box, you can probably keep it simple. Now, these are still things that are more, what do you say, product oriented things, right? Where you are changing the size, you are making it simpler for them to draw, it becomes easy for you to give to another person, etc. But we said, let's change the game, and we said, let's customize. Okay, so we actually customize, we completely give the choice to the customer in terms of what design you want on it. That's something that is innovative in a way that you are giving the creation process of even the product in the hands of the customer, where the customer is today able to choose exactly what they want in the shape or the size that they want. So we allow customers to actually, if it's their kid's birthday, or you want to gift to somebody, you can choose exactly the kind of design you want, and we will pre-print it for you, and your family or your kids can enjoy it. So I just want to share a personal example of how we have really used the concept of design thinking and innovative in something that is so simple and something that is so small. I'm not sure if we have time for an activity, but I'm going to stop talking, and the moderator can tell me if we have any questions, and we could probably open it for questions, and see if you guys have any thoughts, any questions. And then if any of you want to talk about anything, we could do that also. But I'm going to take a pause and let you kind of ask or talk.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for your resourceful and insightful content. I request the students to post your questions in the chat box. Ma'am, I myself, I have a question
Okay.
basically. Yeah, the question is, what would you suggest for the students who want to start their own business in the
Okay.
future?
I would say number one is start small. Like they say your first customers are your family and friends. Try ideas, and today there are a lot of tools. Maybe if I ever get to talk to you, this group again on another day, I could share these free tools that are available for brainstorming to see, even before you spend time or money, you can validate your idea, and there are these platforms and tools where you could do it. So today it's so wonderful that you are all, probably 18, 19, 20, and you are already exposed to a lot of good topics. Like when I was a student, nobody ever talked about entrepreneurship when we were young. So I think you have the benefit of great faculty, these kind of sessions, etc. It would be just important to start, write it or jot it down on a paper, or discuss it with a few people that you think. It was like basically market study of your thing. And what I would say, pilot launch. Start, make like a mock handmade or like a small machine made mock up. Share it with people. Ask for feedback. I think fail fast and learn quickly is really the mantra. Start something when you have. As we grow older, the appetite to do something new actually reduces, because you may have parents to take care of. You don't have time. So when you're young, when you're in college, it's actually the best time to test out your idea. So I would say start early, start small, and fail quickly.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am.
So there's a question, ma'am. Which business do you think will sustain even if there's enormous virus attack in the world? I think those businesses that are not so if we can identify three big areas of where businesses or companies spend money, one is people. A lot of businesses, they are, people investing on people is one big area of expenditure. Second is R&D. You're constantly spending on research, on development, etc. And third is your own internal machinery or systems or everything. Those businesses that can reduce these three in a very programmed way are the ones that will actually sustain in the future. Most jobs today are done by machines, by robots, and you just need one person to manage. That does not mean we will be jobless. As students, I would really suggest that you equip yourself with topics like, digital marketing, performance marketing, machine learning, big data. Like, you just have to read up. It's not like you need to be a pro at it, because the jobs of the future are that. Nobody will tell you, okay, come and do auditing for 10 days. You have tools to do it. They just need somebody who understands auditing. So from an employee perspective and an employer perspective, the sooner we learn concepts of tomorrow, I think those businesses will really survive. Those that are running so lean that they can scale up in any region anytime they want, because they don't have office space, nothing. So yeah, those businesses that are cutting these three will really sustain. Um, if there is any other question, maybe we could take that. Otherwise, we could also wrap up. I'm always happy to probably come for another session if it's required. But since time, I think, is a problem because we are running out of time.
Yes,
Yeah, we could.
ma'am. Thank you for such an informative session. I request Ms. Falguni Khatri, student of TY BCom, to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, Falguni.
Good day, all. My name is Falguni Khatri, and I'm absolutely privileged to propose a vote of thanks. Essentially, I would extend my gratitude to the speaker for today's session, Ms. Pooja Shirali ma'am, for accepting our invitation and sharing her knowledge on the insights of the topic. I thank the principal of PVM's Sri Damodar College, Professor Dr. Preeta D. Malya, and the management of the college for always encouraging us in all such endeavors. I would like to extend my gratitude to Sharmila ma'am, co-convener IIC Cell, and Ansley sir, convener E Cell, for organizing a session for the students. I also thank Mervina, Antara, and Pradnya for the technical help. Lastly, I thank all the participants for participating in the virtual celebration. Thank you, and I hope you all have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Falguni. The feedback link has been provided in the chat box, requesting all the students to fill the same. Thank you, one and all. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.